All right. So thank you all for coming. Please accept my apology. I forgot. So many of you maybe have wanted to come, and I forgot to send out an email a few days ago as a reminder that this was coming up, and sent it out rather late last night. And so most people probably didn't get it till this morning. So we're going to have a cozy little meeting here today and just move forward. I would ask that you keep yourself muted. And then if you have any questions or concerns, just write it in the chat, and you might open up your little chat window. And I'll just keep monitoring that. And if I refer to you, I'll do my best not to say your name. I don't want people to be shy of making a question or a comment. So I'll just read the comment without mentioning the name. And hopefully that's all. All right. Another thing is that my job here of course, as a facilitator, as a mentor in this process, is just to be as honest as possible with you throughout this process. So feel free to ask, questions and let me know if you have any concerns. Please don't hesitate or worry that you'll be judged. It won't be coming from me if you are being judged. We're all human, and we all feel these things. So. All right. So regarding the courses, there are 2 new courses. These are new courses. They're not rehashes of previous courses. One is called Bodily Awakening and Rejuvenation. The and rejuvenation is more like oftentimes the effect of the bodily awakening. It must not be the aim. If it's the aim, probably it won't be effective for you. So you really want to go into that course with a kind of trust in your body, not to heal, but the trust in your body to move toward calm, grounded, centered openness, toward awareness, and much more refined awareness than you currently maybe are aware of. And that in the process, it's going to do what it's going to do. However, if in the process you are moving towards calm, grounded, centered, and openness, that maximizes the potential that your body would recover. Do you see it? The recovery must not be the aim. The aim of recovery is not calm, grounded, centered, and open. So that's about that course. It is essentially an extension of what you all learned in the Warriors Meditation Essential Teachings, or 25-day course. So we're just going to take the principles that you learned in the Warriors Meditation course and go deeper into certain aspects of them to bring out a greater quality, greater awareness, most importantly, a communion between mind and body. If we take this course with honest intentions, open-hearted, an exploratory mind, listening to the body as we go, we'll get much more out of it than if we go through it willfully or just intellectually, and with the aim of healing. We got to throw out, that's not trust. Throw out that aim of healing. It sounds strange, it's counterintuitive, but there's a kind of understandable desperation behind that aim, but that desperation doesn't allow for the calm, grounded, centered openness. So for that course, in a sense, we also have to be comfortable with the idea that things might get worse, because that's just reality. And so the course isn't really about healing. It's just that seems to be a very common side effect of the material. All right. And then the course Trust, the Spirit of Trust, is actually not separate from the Warriors Meditation course. It's not separate from Bodily Awakening and Rejuvenation. It's an extension, a more advanced training. In that course, if you've done the basics, if you've gotten the essence of the teachings of the Warriors Meditation course and Bodily Awakening, then it will be very, very easy for you to bridge into the next step, which is the ability to intentionally disable that self-deceptive quality, which I often refer to fondly as the trickster. And if you're on the awakening path, you'll understand how truly essential and revolutionary that capacity is It's not just about, I don't want to lie anymore. It could be even, I'd like to tell a lie, but so long as I've switched that deceiver off, I can't. It's like that. It's a different animal. It's a fascinating aspect that my teacher and I discovered when I was in Japan training, I don't know, 2009 or 2010. It took all this time just to get to the point where I could articulate what was happening. It first happened with me, and then I mentioned it to him. Oh, I can't think a negative thought. I can't say a lie, even I want to. So long as I hold this energetic pattern, I cannot do it. And then a few weeks later, he discovered the same thing, and we didn't really understand exactly how we were getting to that place, because it's very subtle, but we were getting to that place. And once you recognize that capacity, it starts to unravel the deceptions of the subconscious mind, because at least you know now that you have an option not to self-deceive, not to be self-absorbed. And you got no one to blame, right? Once you have that option, you can't just say it's your nature, right? And so let's start the questions on those courses. Go ahead and type into the chat if you have any questions or concerns. As you type, you might listen in the background. The quality of bodily awakening and rejuvenation is greatly enhanced once we awaken to that spirit of truth, because it will make everything that you learned in all the previous courses much more accurate, because you'll be able to consult that quote unquote spirit of truth for more precision. It becomes a guide, if that helps. That is essentially the spirit that guide. I call it spirit. I mean, when I say spirit, I mean more like attitude. Like this, if you think about the way we refer to the term spirit, fundamentally we're talking about an attitude. This person is spirited, they're energetic, right? So I mean it in that sense. There's a certain attitude that connects to an energetic pattern that we awaken to, that becomes a guide. And that's essentially what guides my process. Okay. If you are unable to lie, this is a great question. This is a question that plagued me for a time, in that, like, how do I even answer it? Because it's a question that begs to be asked. If you are unable to lie, does that mean that you will end up upsetting a load of parents by telling their kids the truth, i.e. things such as their parents are lying to them about Santa? One of the things that you realize is that as this quality of deception turns off, you just talk a lot less, because most things coming out of your mouth are not actually true. And the second thing is you start to respect the fact that other people are not necessarily appreciative of the honest truth. They don't want to see reality. Maybe they're enjoying the deception. Maybe their identity is based off of deception. Most of our identities are based off of deception, even if we don't know it. Your goal isn't to save the world and be the conveyor of truth to other people. If you're using it that way, it can be abusive. I don't share much of the insights that I share with my students outside to people that are not interested in awakening, because it's not helpful to them. And so the question may be coming from a sort of savior ideology, like I have to be the purveyor of truth to the world. I would suggest that won't be helpful and may not go in the direction that you will appreciate either. There will be times when you have to stand the ground and tell the truth, but I'm not sure Santa's one of them. Like I'm very honest about the policies of free speech. There's this push these days to crumple free speech, but one cannot awaken it unless one can actually deal with uncomfortable ideas and also discuss false ideas. If we're not able to explore honestly, even the stuff that's not true, it will prevent us from being able to see reality. And it will also enable those who are authoritarians to spin whatever narrative they want and say that we have to say that that's the truth because their fact checker said it's true. So there are certain things that personally I find I have to draw a line and speak out about. But that's very individualistic. That's according to your aims in life. I can't say what you should do. This isn't a moral system. This isn't a moral system. It's just a system that you will use to correct your inner space, not to go and correct other people. Does that make sense? All right. All right. Do I want to disable the trickster or allow it to harmonize with the divine essence? Well, what actually ends up happening, it's a great question. What ends up happening is through this method, the trickster does harmonize with it just harmonizes. The word divine essence, it sounds very woo-woo, and some people will not get that. Let's just keep it simple. We have harmony and disharmony and some gradation in between. And what this training will enable you to do, if you are sincere and conscientious in the process, is to maximize that harmonious state such that the trickster basically just dissipates. That element just dissipates. It's not, it becomes harmonized. And so it's what I call the trickster is not a thing, actually. It's an effect. An effect of a disharmonious inner space creates a deceptive mind. And since we were toddlers, we began lying, we began deceiving, age 2, 3, 4. We realized that we could manipulate reality in our story to get what we wanted. And that's a seductive little trick to discover, isn't it? It's the most important discovery you had in your life. You just don't remember the moment that you had it. It happened when you were very, very young. You're like, holy crap, I can get this if I say that. And I know that's not true, but if I say it, people will believe me. It's the first insight into your parents and other people don't actually know what's going on inside your head. And so and they don't necessarily know that you're lying. Prior to that, you don't know that. And once you realize that, then you can start spinning yarns. And that yarn spinning does several things. One, it gets you what you want, but it also distorts your neurology. It makes it ever easier to deceive. As you deceive more and more, it gets still ever easier. Pretty soon, your whole story of yourself is a kind of deception, right? You get into a highly self-absorbed state. Your inner compass of conscience is spinning. And then the only kind of conscience that you actually have is what I'll call socially constructed conscience. It's the conscience that your parents gave you, your school gave you, your friends gave you, that sort of thing. But that conscience is not necessarily always in alignment with harmony. We know this very simply. In some countries, there's a completely different morality than in other countries. Some places, if you steal, they cut off your hand. In other countries, that would be abhorrent and a completely immoral thing to do. So what we think of as morality and conscience is culturally constructed to a large degree. But there is something that's much more innate, this kind of energy or alignment or it's very difficult to describe this to someone who's not got to this point, but this inner harmony that becomes so precise, it becomes a guide. And it's in alignment with not only the true nature of you, but the true nature of others and reality. It's basically in alignment with reality. Even if you don't know exactly what reality is, it's a kind of you, me, we consciousness. So you're no longer guided just by your own self-absorbed desires. But it's not a moral system. It's not a philosophy. Not like, you're not taking the philosopher's pose. Things just become obvious because you can feel them in the body. And I'm not talking about a psychic sense. exactly either. It's just an awareness of harmony and disharmony, a balancing of the forces of yin and yang, order and chaos within the body in a way that's structured towards harmony. I wonder if that answered the question. Yes. So does anyone, do people have to have practiced the Warriors Meditation course? Yes, that will be absolutely an essential teaching. The first course right now, it's $99. I've got it on discount. It's normally $299, but that is the essential course. Within that course, you're going to get the basic essential qualities that you're going to build upon for this more advanced training. So in the traditional Japanese martial arts, the samurai arts, for example, oftentimes, there's a technique from the most advanced curriculum that's placed right in the beginning. The Warriors Meditation content is actually highly advanced content placed right in the beginning. And it's there to give you a foundation that can grow indefinitely or infinitely. I never stop training because all of the advanced training is found in there. When you go through that more advanced stuff, you'll look back on the Warriors Meditation and you'll realize, gosh, it's always been there. I just didn't see it. It'd be a massive facepalm. So the issue is that people that haven't gotten to that higher level don't see it. So they think of the basics as just being low level, and they just want to get to high level stuff. And so they just kind of push their way through, and they essentially don't respect the foundation of what they're doing. Yes, there will be a requirement for taking that course and having completed it. And then there will probably be some amount of, for an individual basis, we're going to have a kind of daily meditations. We're upgrading daily meditations to practice the content of the Warriors Meditation. I highly recommend people do that, those daily meditations. You will have to be a member of it to get to the higher courses. But that doesn't mean I can make sure you do it. How do I know if you're practicing or not? The reason for the courses and the daily practice is just reality. You need to develop a foundation. And if you're unconscientiously pushing forward, just thinking you're going to get some technique that's going to solve all your problems, you missed it. This is training. It's refining. It's endless. Because you are endless. And that sounds really woo-woo, but it's scientifically factual. You are not just this one thing stuck in time. This is a fountain of being, atoms coming through, flowing and connecting with the universe. Your breath, you don't own the oxygen in there. That breath goes and travels through your entire body and, creates, sustains an electric circuitry, purifies your body. But basically, it's just a continuum of the environment, is it not? Half of your lungs is the world, right? Where does the oxygen on the world come from? The sun. Where does the oxygen from the sun come from, right? You get it. This all comes from the essence of the universe. You are a continuum of being, and that's just the breath, right? You're endless. Always have been, always will be. Whether you are this body or you are the universe or you are the dust after this body, whatever the essence of you still is. I don't mean your identity, something deeper than that. Okay, yes. There's a question. Can you elaborate on by what you mean when you said that things may get worse and not better when taking the course, these new courses? This is certainly possible. And this is primarily based on attitude. So if you have a tendency to run away from reality, a tendency to not take responsibility, a tendency to blame other people for your lot in life, in the event that spirit of truth opens up in you, you're going to see your culpability. And if you don't want to see that, it can cause you to go insane. Because once you see something, you cannot not unsee it. And so this is largely attitudinal. I don't recommend taking this type of training if you have a tendency towards escapism. a tendency towards blaming others, a tendency towards not taking responsibility, a tendency not to follow through on your aims. I wouldn't recommend it. One of the issues I have with all of these courses is that, and this is understandable in a kind of capitalistic society, a merchant society. People think of these courses as like products, and this is the purpose that I'm teaching is just to make money. But that's actually not it. That's all secondary. The only reason I have online courses now is because of COVID and my health issues. I can't teach physically now. Of course, my health issues are getting much better, but the COVID thing just made it, everything had to shut down. And so my highest aim is that all of us who are invited and who would like to, be totally honest with ourselves and others who are willing for that, wish that honesty, to have an inner communion and harmony with our body, between the body and mind and the universe. My highest aim is to make that as possible, as available as possible to those people. That's it. But I also understand there must be a sacrifice. This world is a cycle of energy. Nothing is actually free. Every moment, there is a sacrifice. Skin is slowing off. Something is being lost. Something is dying in order for something new to be born. If you expect these teachings to be monetarily free, that's not healthy for you. At the same time, coming into the course is the idea that this is a product, that already from the outset is not correct. It's understandable. You might see it that way, but that's just not going to take you there. The goal here is not to sell lots of tickets. That's not the goal. The goal is to invite the right people who sincerely seek awakening and are willing to follow through without excuses. That's all. Because you really want to love, respect, accept, appreciate, and ultimately trust yourself. That is what awakening is. All right. Any other questions? Why do we get attached to the identity when identity is the thing that may cause so much suffering? Well, the identity is a tool that allows you to function in the world. Without the identity, one would not be able to function through the developmental process. So let's say that, let's imagine this scenario. You're born, you're conceived without identity. And identity is a later development. There's just awareness. I don't mean awareness of I don't mean awareness of ideas. I mean just the feeling of being. And that feeling of being is not self-identified. It's just the feeling of being. Doesn't know a name, has no necessarily developed personality, but as that embryo develops, it's got a genetic tendency towards personality, right? We're not born blank slates. This is an idea that's very unhealthy. It develops, our personality develops in the womb. Just watch infants when they're born. They are not all blank slates. Some of them, are cantankerous, and some of them are, really soft and kind, and some of them are very conscientious and skeptical. Some of them are like, wow, they're all different because we're not born blank slates. And this is an idea that's become very common in the world. It's an idea that is authoritarian in nature. If you're born a blank slate, I can make you whatever I want to make you. It's a very, very manipulative energy. People who have that belief, you might check in here and see if you're not inflicting yourself on your children, trying to force them to be what you want them to be. and not bringing out their highest qualities by their nature. But that identity is important so that I can actually say, this is my body. That's a cliff. This body goes off that cliff, I die, right? The identity is an important navigational tool. It allows you to communicate socially with other people, right? Each personality aspect essentially is a set of values. High conscientiousness is a kind of value for respect and doing things correctly according to your particular definitions. A low level of conscientiousness often means you don't give a shit, fundamentally, right? It doesn't matter how people do it. Just like productivity doesn't matter. It's a different set of values. Maybe leisure is what's most important to a low conscientiousness personality. Extroversion, the highest value is social. You feel better by socializing. An introverted personality, high socialization is exhausting, right? It's more like self-reflection or reading a book or getting knowledge. They're just different values. Agreeableness, the highest value may be to be liked, but the disadvantage might be that it's cowardly. You say yes in order to be liked, even though you really don't want to do the thing you said yes to. So you undermine yourself. It's just a balance of yin and yang. And as we awaken, we start to recognize the advantages and disadvantages of each personality type and the advantages and disadvantages of your story. If you had no personal identity, no personal story, you might not remember who's in your family, who is your lover, right? Think of people that have Alzheimer's and they've forgotten their story. They don't know that you're their son or daughter, right? Your personal love is bound up in your personal story. So it's not that identity is wrong. It's just that we need to awaken to the advantages and disadvantages of it. And as we awaken to the advantages and disadvantages of it, we become more malleable in the personality type with the aim of the you, me, we consciousness, the harmony as the aim, not self-absorption. If your personality type is very flexible just to get what you want individually, that's kind of scary. Maybe a psychopath, maybe a psychopathic energy. So it's more like moving towards harmony. We balance out the personality. I used to be highly introverted. I couldn't speak publicly. Now I can speak publicly because it's helpful, necessary, meaningful, and engaging. That's all. I used to be low in conscientiousness. That has risen. I used to be high in neuroticism, which is like constantly anticipating a negative future. That's gone way down because it's not helpful for me at this stage. You see it? So identity is not the problem. It's just a lack of clarity about what identity is and a lack of felt harmony within the body. Essentially a lack of centeredness, a hyper-personalizing of life. We get so attached to the identity because we really want to believe we know what we are. This feeling of certainty about your identity helps you to feel somehow comfortable in a certain way, even if you don't like yourself. That's why, right? It also stabilizes you so that your friends can say, I know Joe's like this, Joe's like that. And you have this unwritten social contracts. If your identity starts to change, it pisses off a lot of people. It does, especially those who are maybe tendency towards manipulative qualities and taking advantage of you. And once they find out they can't take advantage of you so easily, they might not like you very much anymore. They may not appreciate the changes. So the awakening process isn't a free process. It comes with lots of sacrifices. It's just reality. Let's admit the reality. Everything in your life is a give and take. It's not for everybody. This isn't a moral system. It's just for those, for whatever crazy reason, want to wake up to their essential nature. That's all. Want to live in true harmony that's backed by courage. Not this sort of, in Japan, There's this word wa. Wa means harmony. But what they mean by harmony is social harmony. It means behave in such a way that everybody else accepts you. And of course, that oftentimes means betraying yourself and being very dishonest. That's not what I mean by harmony in this case. I don't mean, that's a fake harmony. So let's at least be, if we're awakening, we'll be honest with the reality within ourselves. That's where it begins, not really out there. Now, if you're in Japan, you might still play that social game just so that you can still go to work, but you're going to be clear inside about your reality. And you're not going to necessarily pick fights constantly. You pick your battles. There'll be times when you have to tell the truth. You pick your battles. If you do get stuck, will there be support? What do you mean by stuck in this case? Oh, yes. So yes, I have for these particular courses, I used to not allow any personal mentoring for anybody until they took a certain level of course. For physical awakening and rejuvenation, and well, I guess for anybody in any of these courses, if you get stuck, you can reach out to me for personal mentoring. It's not psychology, but it'll help you to correct your inner space. But if you're doing the Warriors Meditation course, we'll be discussing specifically things related to that training. If we were doing, physical awakening, rejuvenation, we'll be discussing things specifically for that content and what's going on with you related to that content. It's not like, can you mentor me on how to get a better job? Or, I'm having trouble with my wife. Can you marriage counsel me? Not like that. It'll be related specifically to the materials that you're working on. So that's a change that I haven't mentioned. I forgot to mention. That's a change I forgot to mention. For trust and the spirit of trust, it would be related to the spirit of trust if that's a higher level. So it could include all the things before then. Do you see it? And so that will be available. If you get stuck in that way, you can reach out for help. Though I suspect the courses are being constructed very, very carefully. I'm working on physical bodily awakening and rejuvenation right now, and I've had to re-record the course twice now. So because as I go along, I find, it can be more precise than this. It can be more clear than this. So then I scrap all the previous recordings and start all over again. If I just gone with the first one, that would, the first set of recordings, that would not have been coming from love. That would just be a profit motive, right? The goal here is to make it as refined as possible to maximize your ability to gain from the course and minimize the potential negatives. There's never going to be a perfection there. And, people bring in what they bring in, and I can't control all the things they bring in. I would just say, if you have a tendency towards escapism, if you have a tendency to not take responsibility, not to follow through, probably better you don't take the courses. And if things don't go well for you, and those are your tendencies, and don't blame anybody, though you probably will, because that's the habit, right? That's the pattern. It's the irony of life. Yes. So Bianca's asking a question that's not related to this. That question, Bianca, is related to the Warriors Meditation course. For those people that are in the Warriors Meditation course, for the next 3 Saturdays, we will have a question and answer period on Saturday mornings at 8:30 a.m. Those who are not in that course will not be accessing that question and answering period. We had one this last Saturday. All right. I hope you found this question. If you found this question and answer helpful in any way, let me know in the post. If you're still confused about anything, please ask the question. If anything I said here sounds kind of like, what are you talking about? I mean, I see reality from a very different, in a very different way than I did just 20 years ago when I was highly personalized. I see things very differently. So I tend to speak in ways that might be confusing to people. Has nothing to do with their intelligence. It's a very different point of view. And so if I ever say anything that's like, please feel free to ask, and I'm happy to clarify. I'm happy to be questioned about anything. Everything I say, there's a reason for it. It's not just an ideology. And I prefer to have students be very honest with me. People that just defer. You're not really studying, are you? You're following. To study means you're exploring, right? This is an interaction. All right. Sounds like we pretty well satisfied. All right. If you're still typing a question right now, there's a little hand raise icon that you can click on. No, so Irene says it helps to understand exactly what is involved and what to expect from each course. Pardon me, I said your name. Yeah. All right, wonderful. Thank you all so much. And for those of you who joined the course, just remember, it's not necessarily going to be always pleasant or always easy. Anything of depth is like that. And we need a motivation that will surpass the hardships. Ask yourself, what's your motivation? Do you really want to see what's down there? It's not all love and light. Thank you so much.